YouTube. How are you? This is my first video. I'm going to be speaking on my life. My life after 10 years of adoption. Just seems as if things have truly fallen apart, and definitely has shown me that my big heart was not appreciated. I have started this because I wanted the world to know no matter how much you offer one, no matter what you do, in this life it seems not to be good enough. I come here with nothing but truth. And I really want people to understand. See, I came from a family with a mother, stepfather. I've always had my grandparents, my grandmother, my grandfather. I've always believed in family. We were raised in the church, as well as, we knew what was right and wrong. Things that the children do today and the way they carry themselves, the way they're living their lives. What is this world coming to? If it ends up that we have to depend on the children in the later life, will there be later life? What I've come to know is that people don't have tradition anymore. They don't know what tradition means. They don't come from a background such as I have. And I have tried to instill this type of background in all the children I've raised, all the children I've adopted, all the children in my life. I don't know. We'll find out if any of the things that I've ever taught anyone was truly appreciated, or if they learned anything valuable that would bring them to a good life in their later years. I'm going to start with my childhood. I didn't have the greatest childhood. I never proclaimed to, be this super person who had it all going on. But I will say, I turned out to be a great person. Always trying to do the right thing. Never to harm anyone. It just seems like nothing you do, anything you say to the children of the world today matters. Like I said, I was going to start with my childhood. Never proclaimed to have the best one. Never proclaimed anything different from the norm. But I did have family. And so I grew up thinking that I wanted to continue that legacy that my grandmother and my mother gave to me. My mother was not the greatest, but she was my mother, and I learned great things from her. My grandmother was an entrepreneur, a religious woman, and she stood on principle. I carry all those values. So, with that being said, I just want the world to know I am a great mother, so I feel. But, we all have mistakes. We all have flaws. I started this journey back in 2014. Got a call one night, rush out, come get the children before the police get here. I went to try to help out as much as I could. And in that I ended up requiring to have to share my life. When I say share my life, I end up with a 1-month-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. Only to help out to keep the children from going back into the system. Well, wasn't much appreciated because there was no pay. I wasn't looking for any. I went on to take on 2 jobs to try to raise these children. These children came from my husband's granddaughter. So they were no blood relation to me. Me being who I am, it didn't really matter. Just didn't want to see them back in the system. I've always been a loving, caring, giving person. They didn't have to be any kin to me. They were children, nonetheless. Through this, I've had nothing but problems. Hatred, lies told on me. Went to DCS telling them false tales of my life that didn't deter me at all. I was asked the question, why would you put yourself in this situation? Why would you give up your life? You've raised your children already. I have 4 wonderful children. Keandra, Cassandra, Carlene, Casper. All by one man, Casper Levels. He was a different type of individual, but nonetheless, he loved his family. He was adopted out of his own family, and he just really wanted that family atmosphere, whether he was to do right in life to me as a husband or not. He still liked the values in me. And so he always said to me over and over again, Carlene, you're a great mother. And you are really not supposed to give up your life for other people. Why don't you just give those kids back to the people? Well, before I had those 3 that I named, I also took on their brothers in the earlier years. But my husband explained to me it was too much. I had just had twins. We already had 2 girls. And he said to me, get rid of them or I'm going to have to go. Now we're speaking of his own great-grandchildren, 2 little boys. He said, let them go. The parents will never get themselves together, and you're just burdening yourself down trying to take care of all these children. So I did. I listened to my husband. My husband said to me, Carlene, I appreciate you. Sometimes I don't show it, but I love the way you keep trying to keep the family together. Well, when he said that to me, he wasn't only speaking of his grandchildren that I had, or our 4 children. He was also speaking of a sister. And I carried that sister. I carried her on my back through winter storms and through every nature you could think of in life. I carried that sister. There would be no way she would fail. She wasn't always a pleasant individual. She had her own issues in life. But regardless to all, I stuck by her. When we got to a point in our lives that the marriage just wasn't working out, he wasn't going to change, and I just wasn't happy in life, I walked away. I took my 4 children, and we went on to try to live a better life, a more peaceful life, less stress. I don't know what type of bringing up most people come from, but where I come from, we have our dinners, our lunches, our breakfasts. We have everything that we're supposed to have. Common sense. Most people, for some reason, they don't have those things. I prepare dinner every night. I always had food on the table for my children. And at that point, I was in a home where I could make dinner and he wouldn't come home. So I got tired of not being appreciated, although he said he appreciated me. I went on to my own home. I made a home for me and my children. Through that, I also reach out to those who were less fortunate. My sister, she lived with me, and she wasn't all that bright. She met a gentleman, and it went from one extreme to another, and I wanted to explain to her and keep her safe. So I tried to show her the values of life. That didn't go well because he didn't come from a good background. Although he had his mother, he had his father, he just wasn't the kind of man that I would have wished that my sister would have gotten with. To move on to later years, my sister had 2 children with this man. He was a cheater, had no real concern for my sister's life. Basically just wanted to do what he wanted to do. And through that, I raised and helped her with her 2 children. If I had it for mine, I made sure she had it for hers. Every Christmas, every birthday, anything that was needed, never a hungry moment. I treated her as if she were my own. Not that my mother wasn't a mother to her, but my mother was living her best life. She was, going out, she was partying, she was doing her. And I was more settled because I did have 4 children, and I was a married woman. With that, I thought I had great love and understanding, and I wanted them to see the values and get the traditions and have the wonderful Christmases and just be happy in life. Get that education. I'll never forget going to the school, and the principal said, "Hey, can I speak with you?" I said, "Sure." He said, "If there were more parents like you, we would have a better life in the schools where things would go differently, because your boys were just wonderful. Whatever you're doing, continue to do it." So that made my world. I felt really good inside. I've always been told that my kids are manable. My kids are, respectful. Never had any problems out of any of them. I never had to go to the school for a fight. I never had to deal with the drama of, what's out here. But I'll give you this. In today's times with these children, at 58 years old, with a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, and 17-year-old, it's been my worst I've went through real trauma. And I'm not just going to blame the children for that. I chose a relationship with a man after my husband died in 2021. That man gave me love, something that I truly needed because the other relationships I was in for 8 years was the worst. I don't want to go into a bunch of details about other people. I want to keep this strictly about the way I've been treated after adopting 10 years of adoption with children who do not appreciate me. Through this relationship that I acquired, where the man showed me a lot of love, helped me through some emotional stresses after my husband died. He also added to the relationship some cheating, which my life was threatened after that, and I had to leave my surroundings. I had to give up a whole lot to, save my own life. So dealing with that situation, of course, it made other people have to give up their lives and live their lives differently as well because I was backing them. My sister and her children and my boyfriend, his situation led us to another state. I sold my home and tried to go somewhere else and get some peace behind all of this. So when I say I've been through some real things, I guess the children didn't take it too well that we had to leave. We had to go to another state. And that was because, they had made friends and they basically had, I allowed their father to come around. I used to allow the mom to come around to parties and birthday parties of the children. So quite naturally, they were disturbed by what had taken place that we had to leave and go to another state. Well, in that other state, I found peace. I had a friend that allowed me to come to her home with the children and stay. I had a lot of things. I had so much stuff in a new home that I hadn't gotten before I had left, and so all that had to be shipped to me. I had my sons and people trying to, put all my things in storage. It was very costly. I really was not over the loss of my husband, even though this guy, like I said, it came in and, showed me love. And, I just was kind of devastated because my life was in shambles. It was in an uproar. This is after the adoption. All of this is, I adopted in August 2021. And when all of this happened, it was October 21 that I moved to Georgia with my friend. She allowed me and the children to stay, and I had so much I had to do to get us on our feet and, of course, give this lady her house back. So we moved on to Warner Robins, Georgia. We left Dalton and we moved there, and they drove behind me. I had several vehicles. I still had vehicles in Indiana. I had to get there, so I had to allow my sons and his friends. One called me mom, and he stuck with me to get all my things, and get them to where I was at in Georgia. Just really helped out. So I was thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to make this a place to, feel the love and feel everything? Well, the gentleman was no longer in my life at the time. I was still speaking with him over the phone. He was still in Indiana. And I was still feeling a sense of loneliness. I wanted that love, that support from a man. I wanted to have a whole family, that father figure and that loving spirit of what it is to have a good man in your life. I wanted to continue that. So eventually he came to Georgia where I was. During the course of it all, I decided, okay, I'm going to take the girls. I took one at a time. I call it Your Day with Mom. So I would take each person out by themselves and we go shopping and get something to eat, just kind of spend a day with them and talk to them about what they're feeling and how they're feeling and what do they really want to do in their lives or with their lives and how was they feeling about the big move, because there are people they're not going to be seeing for a while. There was one particular time I took one of the girls out, the 13-year-old. Now she's 13. And I bought her things and we ate and we had a good time. Well, she was happy. The next day, I went to take the sister out. And she wanted to go with us. I said, no, you can't go. You had your day and today is her day. Well, when I came back, I always had like lemons and limes and oranges I put in my drinks. Every time I have something to drink, I always put fruit in it. And I drink out of a straw. I went to sip out of my cup that was in my bedroom. And I gagged and threw up. Just all of it just came out really fast because there were chemicals in my drink. She literally put super glue in my drink. She was so upset that she didn't get to go with me and the sister. But remember, I took her the day before, so there was no need for the outbreak of putting super glue in my drink. Oh, that was very serious. I took everything from me to not, call the police and have her arrested, which I was told to do so, but I never did it. So, as the years went on, I had another episode where the children were mad with me because there were things I wouldn't let them do that other children were out here doing. I ended up with pine salt in my drink. Then again, I didn't get it all because I could taste it. I spit it out. That came from the one who's now 12. So, with that being said, that's 2 incidents where someone that I adopted tried to take my life. Well, after 2 years of being in Georgia and we just wasn't happy, things weren't going well as far as the children because they weren't allowed to rip and run and go, where they wanted to. The 17-year-old rebelled. I had a hip replacement during that time, and which means I was down. I allowed my sister and her daughter to move in, and her son, and it wasn't appreciated. They stole from me some valuable coins, $1 million coins, 1943 coins, pennies that did not stick to a magnet. So I was down, as I stated, and during that time they took advantage of me. They showed me. I got a home that I had put my sister, her daughter, and them in, so they didn't have to live under my roof. They didn't have to live with me. I co-signed for that home in Georgia, and the daughter, she had 2 children. And she had one, and then she was pregnant with the other one. And when I done that, and they stole the coins from me, which meant I wouldn't be helping them, and I wouldn't be around. Well, something unfortunate happened that they didn't get any money. They may have gotten a little something, but they didn't get what they were supposed to get for those coins. And so they decided that they were going back to Indiana. They wasn't going to stay because they knew that they had violated me in every way. So I end up back in Indiana, as I stated, because my children were asking me, my grown children were asking me, come home, mama. You know, they've had children and they wanted me around. They needed my help, sometimes babysit, just to get to know my grandkids, period. They wanted me back to be with their mom and my grandkids. So I returned, and the fellow returned with me. Well, we had to get a place. We ended up with an apartment. First, we stayed with my son 1 month with him. And during that time, of course, I helped him. I gave him, because we had to find our own place. So we ended up getting an apartment right in the same apartment complex as my son and his girlfriend and 2 children. So we ended up staying there, and things were fine for a while, but it was too small of a space. The 17-year-old, which was 16 at the time, she graduated early because the way it is in Georgia, the credits and everything, she was able to just come on out when we got back here. So I told her I allowed her to get a job, and I explained to her I wasn't going to be going through any more problems with her. It's been so many problems. I just couldn't tell you guys just all the chain of events and things that are going on and have went on in the last 10 years. So when I say it was problems, it was stealing of my medication, my pain medication. There was all types of thefts that went on. There was all types of sneaky things that were going on, smoking marijuana, just it blatantly no respect for the way I've been and who I've been to these children. I think everybody thought when I sold my house in Indiana that I was just supposed to take that money and give it to them. But I didn't. I did nice things for them. I bought everybody laptops, computers. I did all kinds of clothing and cell phones, and which was my worst mistake. They were being homeschooled, and so the school was still in Indiana, and we were in Georgia for that first year. But after, they ended up going to a regular school. And this is where some of the rebellion started, really more so than anything. They met new friends. They wanted to do all these things. But as me being an older lady, they being so young, I was kind of against it because things are really happening in this world. Some things outrageous, and I don't want to see them on the news. I didn't want to have to bury one of my children, so I kind of kept a safeguard on them. It wasn't to be mean. It wasn't to, keep them away from people, but it was more for their safety. And so, like I said, we ended up moving back to Indiana in an apartment. It was too small. The 17-year-old now graduated. She got a job. So when she got that job, life just changed really fast. She started back smoking marijuana, got in a fight on the job, got fired. I had to stop her from working before that because she walked in. I searched her purse. She had marijuana in the purse, vapes in the purse. She called herself having a little boyfriend, and disrespectful, threatened my life, threatened my guy's life. All of these things from a child that I adopted. So if you look at your life at 58, I had no business ever doing this adoption because they've all shown me, except for the 10-year-old, that it wasn't appreciated. She started dressing provocatively, wanting to show herself. Just they wasn't keeping their rooms clean. They just was nasty. The apartments actually charged me $3,000. Sued me for $3,000 because they just threw stuff in the floor. Mainly the 17-year-old, all kinds of Kool-Aids and all kinds of, just didn't care about anything. Well, she was taking her money, buying drugs and doing things she shouldn't have been doing. She gave me some money, and $200, I believe, a month for the 6 months she was working, and was like, Mom, whatever you got to do with it, go ahead and do it. So I said, well, eventually you'll need a car or whatever it is, and I don't mind helping you with that when the time comes. But that wasn't enough. So I think my time is about run out. I will gladly finish this up later. I appreciate you coming to my channel and listening, because I have so much more to tell. You would never believe the things that I've endured. And I've only been back 1 year, so thanks for watching. Always like, subscribe, comment. I'm new to this. This is my first video, so bear with me, because you will never believe the things that are coming in the next episode.